My name is Judy Frisbee, and I was 32 years old the night my 3-year relationship began to quietly bleed out in front of me. What's strange is that endings rarely arrive with shattering glass or shouting matches. Sometimes they arrive in the soft tap of your boyfriend's thumbs, flying over his phone in the slightly tilted smile he gives a screen instead of your face in the way he breathes more fully for a notification than he does for you. That evening, I stood at the foot of our bed, staring at the open suitcase like it was a fragile piece of hope I was folding into fabric. 7 nights in the Maldives. Overwater bungalow. A trip that cost more than my first used Honda, entirely paid by me. For 6 months, I had taken extra shifts, accepted every consulting gig that came my way, skipped brunches, and declined shopping trips. I was building toward a moment, a reset button, or maybe a miracle. I smoothed a linen dress over the suitcase and checked the itinerary again, as if the words might rearrange themselves into reassurance. Cole and I had been drifting for weeks, but not the normal drifting couples joke about. This was a deep, quiet shift. His phone was always face down. He took calls in the bathroom with the water running. He changed his passcode twice in 1 month. Anytime I asked if something was bothering him, I received one of the 3 pre-selected answers he'd apparently memorized. You're overthinking. I'm tired. Or the classic, why do you always have to make everything about you? I kept telling myself the vacation would slow him down enough to really see me again. I pictured the 2 of us drinking coconut water under a white sky. I imagined him laughing the way he used to, reaching for my hand, first kissing me without thinking. I imagined sunsets that healed us. But imagining love is different from having it. Did you pack the sunscreen, I asked, trying to sound cheerful instead of needy. Cole didn't answer. He was seated at his vanity. Yes, he'd claimed the vanity for his skincare and hair products, leaning forward with intense focus. His thumbs moved fast, tapping out a message with a speed that only happens when someone is talking to a person who matters. A faint, private smile curled his mouth. Not the smile he forced at dinner with my coworkers, or the polite one he used when he needed something. This was the soft smile of someone warmed from the inside, someone connecting. Cole, I repeated gently. He jolted like I'd splashed cold water on him. His phone flipped downward, instantly screen against his thigh. Oh my God, Judy, you scared me. His voice was sharp, annoyed. What sunscreen? The one for the trip, I said, keeping my voice steady. Did you pack it yet? We leave in 36 hours. He exhaled dramatically, the way someone does when they want you to feel guilty for asking a simple question. Yes, Judy, I packed it. You don't have to micromanage everything. I can handle a suitcase. I nodded, swallowing the sting. I know, I'm just excited. Well, he muttered, turning back to the mirror. Contain it. It's just a vacation. You're acting like we're relocating to Mars. Only Cole could make a 5-figure romantic getaway sound like a trip to the dentist. I stepped closer and rested my hand on his shoulder. Small, soft contact, nothing dramatic. His body stiffened, immediately. Not pulling away exactly, just rejecting connection. Like someone bracing themselves for a conversation they didn't intend to have. Maybe after you're done packing, I said we can order Thai food, watch something together. He checked his watch. It was only 7:30 p.m., but he stood abruptly. I can't. I'm going out. My stomach dropped, not because he said the words, but because of the tone. Casual, detached, almost bored, as if my presence barely existed. Going out, where I asked. We have a flight Thursday morning. Shouldn't we? Just drinks with the guys, he said, grabbing his cologne. The expensive one I bought him for his birthday. Stop worrying so much. I watched as he slipped on a fitted charcoal button-down, one he usually saved for date nights, and styled his hair with unnecessary precision. He looked like a man preparing for a night where impressions mattered. Which guys, I asked. He spun toward me with narrowed eyes, as though my question was wildly unreasonable. Why do you need a guest list? Are you tracking my location now? Cole, I just asked who you're meeting. I didn't. This is exactly why I need a break from you sometimes, he snapped. You suffocate everything. The word suffocate hit me like a palm to the chest. I swallowed back a tremor. I wasn't trying to suffocate you, I whispered. You don't have to wait up, he cut in, slinging his jacket over his arm. I'll be back late. He walked out the door, clicking shut behind him. That sound, the cold, hollow click, felt like someone dropping the lid on a coffin. I stood in the silence of the apartment I paid for, staring at the half-packed suitcase, holding clothes for a man who no longer wanted to stand next to me. I felt the familiar ache begin to rise, sadness first, then confusion, then that foolish determination to fix something breaking in my hands. At 2:04 a.m., I heard the front door creak open. Cole stumbled over something, the muted thud of a shoe, the harsh exhale of someone off balance. He smelled of whiskey and expensive perfume, not mine. His keys clattered onto the counter. He didn't come to the bedroom. He collapsed onto the couch instead. The next morning was thick with silence. I brewed coffee. He ignored it. I asked how he felt. He rolled his eyes. The tension wrapped around the apartment like rope, dragging every movement down with it. At noon, I texted him, "Hey, still on for dinner tonight. We should finalize packing." 4 hours later, he responded, "We need to talk when I get home." 4 words that thud like a dull axe. 4 words nobody wants to read. 4 words that mean the plane isn't the only thing crashing tomorrow. I left work early so I could be home when he walked in. I sat on the couch with shaky hands, fiddling with the hem of my blouse, arranging cushions that didn't need arranging. I kept glancing at the door, hearing footsteps that weren't there. When Cole finally arrived, he didn't look remorseful or conflicted. He looked triumphant, as if he'd already won something I didn't know we were competing for. He set his keys down and leaned against the counter with the casual confidence of a man who believed he still held all the power. So he said, crossing his arms, "Before this trip, we need to talk." My heart braced. He had no idea that in the next 24 hours, everything he believed about me, my patience, my loyalty, my tolerance would be dismantled piece by piece. Cole didn't ease into the conversation. He didn't pad it with an apology or hesitation. He went straight for the jugular the way people do when they've already rehearsed the speech in their head and decided your reaction doesn't matter. "She's back in town," he said. The words hung in the air like smoke, thick, heavy, poisonous. I stared at him, trying to keep my breathing even. "Who's back in town?" He blinked once slowly, as if he expected me to fill in the blank myself. "Brooke." I felt my stomach tighten, not in jealousy, but in recognition. I knew the name. Everyone did. She was the ex-girlfriend who had left him 3 years ago for a marketing job in London. The woman he once described as the one that got away until I gently asked him to stop comparing us because it hurt. The woman who lived in the ghost spaces of our early relationship, his stories, his reference points, his what-ifs. Brooke, back in town, and apparently back in his life. "I thought she was still in London," I said softly. "She was." Cole shrugged, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. "She's back permanently. She reached out a few days ago." A few days ago, I repeated, feeling the timeline shift under my feet. "And that's who you were out with last night." He didn't flinch, not even a millimeter. "Yes." The ease of his answer was more painful than the contents of it. "We were just catching up," he added. "She's going through a lot right now. She needed a friend." A friend, I echoed the word, almost sharp. "You stayed out until 2 in the morning with your ex-girlfriend 2 days before our anniversary trip." He sighed dramatically, rolling his eyes. "And this reaction right here is why I didn't tell you earlier. You're blowing this out of proportion, Judy." "I'm asking a question," I said. "Did you sleep with her?" He paused. A small pause, but enough. A calculated pause where he weighed honesty against consequences. "We just talked," he said finally, but his voice held no conviction. Silence settled between us, like a thick curtain, heavy and suffocating. "She wants to meet again tonight," he added casually. I felt a pulse throb in my jaw. "Tonight, as in right before we leave." "She leaves for a business thing on Friday," Cole said, glancing at his reflection in the microwave, fixing a strand of hair that didn't need fixing. "This is the only chance to finish our conversation. We didn't have enough time last night." He said it so casually, like it was a dentist appointment he forgot to mention. "You're prioritizing a dinner with your ex," I said slowly, overspending the night before our anniversary trip with me. "Don't be dramatic," he said. "It's closure." "Closure requires a second night," I asked. "Until 2 in the morning." Cole picked up his jacket and slipped his arms into it. He didn't look defensive. He looked bored. Bored and vaguely irritated, as though I were a stubborn child slowing him down. "I told you," he said. "It's not a big deal." "Then why didn't you tell me earlier?" I asked. He looked at me sharply. "Because you get insecure." "Insecure," I repeated, letting the word roll off my tongue. "Cole, I'm asking for basic respect." "There you go again," he groaned, blowing everything up. "Can't you just trust me?" I stared at him, really stared, and what I saw made something inside my chest twist painfully. His eyes weren't guilty. They weren't softened by empathy or regret. They were impatient. They were irritated I was slowing down his evening plans. They were full of entitlement. It hit me then. Cole hadn't drifted away accidentally. He'd been pulling away intentionally, one breadcrumb at a time, one excuse at a time, one late night at a time. Look, he said, checking his watch. I'm going to be late. Brooke's expecting me. He reached for his wallet and paused in front of the mirror by the doorway, adjusting his shirt collar and smirking at his reflection. And then he turned to me with that smirk, the same smirk that would become the turning point of my entire life. It wasn't affectionate, it wasn't shy or apologetic. It was a smirk of pure, triumphant satisfaction. The smirk of a man who believed he held all the cards. You don't need to know the details, Judy, he said smoothly, one eyebrow lifting. It's called privacy. You should try it. And don't make this about you. My heart thudded, but my face stayed neutral. He added almost mockingly, honestly, you should be thanking me for being honest. He picked up his keys. I'll be back in the morning to grab my suitcase. You can call the Uber for 8. 8, I repeated quietly. For the airport, he said. You remember Maldives, our trip? He said it with a laugh, as if I were the one being ridiculous. He waited. He expected an argument. He expected tears. He expected me to cling. And that's when it happened. Something inside me went still. Not shattered, just clicked into place. A slow, cold alignment of reality. I lifted my eyes to his and felt my heartbeat calm to a quiet, steady rhythm. Sure, I said. His smirk faltered for a split second before returning even wider, more triumphant. He thought he'd won. He thought my silence was surrender. Good, he said, patting my shoulder like I was a loyal employee. I'm glad you're finally growing up. He walked out the door, and I didn't move until I heard the elevator ding in the hallway, the soft metal groan, as it closed and carried him away. Then I turned and looked at the apartment, the one I paid for the furniture I bought the life I'd been single-handedly holding together. All at once, everything sharpened. Every red flag, every moment of disrespect, every quiet dismissal, every late-night lie. They formed a clear picture I could no longer pretend was blurry. Cole thought I'd wait for him to come back. He thought I'd pack his suitcase. He thought I'd call his Uber. He thought I'd still be here. He had no idea that the woman he walked out on was not the same woman he would return to. When the elevator doors swallowed Cole, taking him away, in a shine of brushed steel and false confidence, the apartment fell into a silence so deep it rang in my ears. I stood there for a full minute, breathing slowly, letting the weight of the moment settle around me. And then almost imperceptibly, my shoulders lowered, my jaw unclenched, my heartbeat steadied. I didn't feel anger, not yet. What I felt was clarity, cold, clean, precise. It was the kind of clarity that arrives only when the denial finally dies. The suitcase on the bed was still open, filled with outfits I had meticulously folded for a man who had spent the previous night entangling himself emotionally with someone else. I walked toward it, but not to add anything. I began taking things out. The extra chargers out. The GoPro he liked to use for adventure clips out. The new sandals I bought for him last week out. I repacked only my essentials, moving through the room with methodical calm. I wasn't rushing. I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't even sad. For the first time in months, possibly years, my mind was quiet. There is a specific kind of betrayal that doesn't break you, it frees you. I zipped my suitcase closed and set it upright, its wheels clicking softly against the hardwood as I moved it near the front door. Then I went to the closet, reached for the shelf above our jackets, and pulled down the fireproof bag where I kept my essentials: birth certificate, passport, spare credit card, cash envelope, labeled just in case. This was my just in case. I grabbed the duffel bag, slid my laptop inside, added the envelope of cash, my jewelry pouch, and the folder containing important documents. Everything I would need to walk out of a life and into a new one. Then I sat on the edge of the bed and picked up my phone. I typed in the number for the luxury travel concierge service, the same one I'd used to book the Maldives trip in the first place. The agent answered on the second ring, her voice crisp and polished. Good evening, this is Marissa with Elite Travel Support. How may I assist you? My name is Judy Frisbee. I said, my voice calm, steady. I have a reservation for 2 departing tomorrow morning. I need to make an urgent change to the itinerary. Oh, of course, Judy, she said, hearing the seriousness. What changes would you like to make? I need to split the reservation, I told her. Keep the itinerary for Judy Frisbee. Cancel the passenger listed as Cole R. There was a pause, then a longer pause. I do need to let you know, she said delicately, that removing the second traveler within 24 hours of departure means his portion is fully non-refundable. I understand. There will be no credit issued. I'm aware, and the cancellation is permanent. That's the idea, I said. She hesitated before proceeding, as though waiting for me to crack or backtrack. But I didn't. I wouldn't. After confirming my identity, she processed the cancellation. Would you like to apply the cost difference toward an upgrade? She asked. We have a first-class seat available. Yes, I said. Upgrade me. It will be a significant upcharge. Do it, she typed. I listened to the soft clicking of her keyboard like a metronome counting down toward my freedom. 10 minutes later, she emailed the new confirmation. I thanked her, hung up, and exhaled a breath, so deep it felt like it came from the soles of my feet. I didn't feel triumphant, just lighter. I didn't stop there. I walked to the kitchen, grabbed Cole's spare apartment key, the one he always left in a ceramic bowl because carrying it was annoying, and dropped it into the garbage disposal. I didn't turn it on. I simply let it rest there, metal against metal, in a place where it would never serve him again. Then I logged into the landlord's portal and submitted a notice of intent to vacate the apartment effective immediately. I agreed to the fee. I didn't blink at the cost. Money spent escaping a sinking ship isn't wasted, it's invested. After that came utilities. Power company. Click. Internet provider. Click. I scheduled service disconnections for the day I returned from the Maldives. 7 days. 7 days for him to realize what it feels like to live in a dark apartment without Wi-Fi right after blowing up his own relationship. The clock on the microwave said 9:17 p.m. Cole was probably ordering his second round, laughing at Brooke's jokes, leaning in too close. He had always loved attention, and he believed everyone, even me, would always keep giving it to him. He didn't know that while he was living his fantasy, I was dismantling his safety net, not out of revenge, out of self-preservation. I walked through the apartment one last time, glancing at the furniture I had paid for, the 65-inch TV, the leather sectional, the espresso machine Cole insisted he needed for productivity. Part of me wished I could take everything. But I didn't need objects. I needed distance. I did not leave him a note, not a text, not a letter, not a single explanation. He didn't deserve a monologue from the woman he dismissed. I put my suitcase by the door and reached for the handle. For a moment my hand hovered there, not in hesitation, but in acknowledgement. You rarely realize when a door becomes symbolic until the moment you're about to walk through it. I turned the lock behind me, stepped out into the hallway, and pulled the door shut. The automatic click was final. Clean. Almost gentle. The elevator ride down 4 floors felt surreal. When the doors opened at the lobby, the air felt different, lighter, fresher, sharp, with possibility. I rolled my suitcase through the glass doors and into the night, then called an Uber Black. Airport hotel, I said. The driver nodded and loaded my luggage into the trunk. As the car pulled away from the curb, my phone buzzed. A text from Cole. Cole. Still having a deep talk with Brooke. Don't wait up. Make sure my carry-on is ready for the morning. Love you. I stared at the words. They felt absurd, like cheap spam. Empty phrases meant to soothe a woman he assumed would always be waiting. I didn't respond. I didn't even save the thread. I deleted the entire conversation. When the Uber dropped me at the airport hotel, I checked in, rode up to a quiet room with soundproof windows, and set my suitcase by the wall. I showered, slipped into a robe, and climbed into the king-size bed. For the first time in months, I slept without waking up to check Cole's half of the bed. In the morning, while Cole was still probably half asleep, hungover, confused, expecting me to be packing his suitcase, I would already be seated in the first-class lounge with a plate of eggs and a mimosa. And by the time he arrived at the airport to collect a ticket that no longer existed, I would be gone. Morning arrived soft and golden through the airport hotel's blackout curtains, but it didn't touch me until my alarm buzzed at 6:15 a.m. I woke up slowly, not with panic, not with dread, but with the strange sensation of having shed a heavy coat in my sleep. I stretched, rolled over, and stared at the high ceiling above me. Then I smiled, a quiet, private smile, one that belonged only to me. By 7:20 a.m., I was seated in the first-class lounge, my suitcase upright beside me, my boarding pass tucked neatly in my wallet, and a plate of eggs, Benedict, steaming in front of me. Warm light filtered in through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a soft shine across the champagne flute at my elbow. The lounge hummed with whispers and the clinking of glasses. My phone rested screen up on the small table. I'd set it to do not disturb, but allowed notifications from Cole to slip through silently. I wanted the sequence. I wanted the timeline. I wanted to witness with cold clarity the moment he realized his control was an illusion. At 7:45 a.m., the first text appeared. Cole. Heading back now. My head is pounding. Did you call the Uber? I cut into my eggs and took a slow bite. Of course he assumed I'd be at home, that I'd be obediently packing his carry-on. that I'd be waiting like a well-trained assistant instead of a partner. I sipped my mimosa. At 8:10 a.m., another text lit the screen. Cole, Judy. I'm at the apartment. Why is the door locked? I left my key inside. I let that one sit there glowing quietly. He didn't have his key. The only working key was in my purse, and I was miles away. At 8:12 a.m., Cole, pick up. Are you in the shower? We're going to be late. I spread butter across a piece of toast as my phone vibrated again. At 8:15 a.m., Cole missed call. From Cole, Cole missed call. From Cole, Cole missed call. From Cole. He was ramping up. A minute later, Cole. The neighbor let me into the building, but now you're not answering. What's going on? He still didn't understand. He still believed I was home. He still believed the world orbited around his needs. I checked the boarding time. My flight would start loading soon. At 8:20 a.m., the next text came rapid fire. Cole. The super let me into the apartment. Where are you? Where is your suitcase? Why are the drawers open, but your suitcase is gone? Then, Cole, what the hell is this? I could almost picture it. The frantic scanning of the bedroom, the dizziness of realization crawling up his spine, the shock of seeing my closet half empty and his suitcase untouched. The moment panic replaced arrogance. At 8:22 a.m., Cole, you petty little, are you seriously at the airport without me because of last night? Grow up. I let out a quiet, humorless breath. There it was, the anger phase. By 8:25 a.m., Cole, fine. I'm calling an Uber. You better be at the check-in desk with my ticket. This is so immature, Judy. I pushed my empty plate aside and gathered my things. The gate was only a short walk away. When I reached it, boarding had just begun. The staff scanned my boarding pass, and I stepped into the quiet luxury of the first-class cabin. The air smelled faintly of citrus and polished leather. I slid into my seat, fastened my belt, and leaned back as the flight attendant approached. Welcome aboard, Ms. Frisbee. Can I offer you a pre-flight drink? Champagne, I said, and feel free to top it off. Of course. As she stepped away, my phone buzzed again, 8:55 a.m. Cole, I'm at the airport. Where are you? Then, Cole, I don't see you. Judy, answer me. Another buzz. Cole. The agent is asking for my passport. Come here. Then, Cole. She says my ticket is invalid. She's typing. She's saying it was canceled. She says you're in 1A. Tell me this is a joke. My champagne arrived. I took the glass, lifted it slightly in a small mock toast to no one in particular, and took a sip. My phone buzzed again. Cole voice message, 014. I connected my AirPods and pressed play. Chaos poured into my ears. Airport announcements. His ragged breathing, his voice cracking under the pressure. Judy, what are you doing? This isn't funny. She's saying you canceled my ticket. Why would you do that? I don't have my wallet. Okay, Judy, come on, don't do this. Don't walk away. You're supposed to fix things. I messed up fine, but you can't just leave. He wasn't apologizing. He wasn't remorseful. He was panicking because the woman he expected to stay had finally stopped. A chime sounded overhead in the cabin. Doors to automatic and cross-check. The plane began to push back from the gate. Cole's text erupted. Cole, Judy. I see the plane is moving. Stop this. I'm literally watching the plane move. Pick up the phone, for God's sake. Cole, I'm crying. Everyone is staring. Just come off the plane and talk to me. Cole, you're being insane. You're ruining everything. Cole, please. Please. I love you. Please don't go. Please. The word had never sounded so empty. I watched the runway roll past the window as the engines roared. At 9:14 a.m., right before the nose tilted upward and we left the ground, I typed 2 sentences. Me, you wanted privacy with her. I'm giving you all the privacy in the world. Then, me, don't be insecure. I hit send. The plane lifted off smooth and powerful, rising through a wash of sunlight. At 10,000 feet, when the Wi-Fi light blinked on, I blocked his number. Then I reclined my seat, put on my noise-canceling headphones, and selected a movie. I had 14 uninterrupted hours ahead of me. 14 hours to remember myself. 14 hours to forget him. The Maldives looks unreal from above, an impossible scattering of emerald rings floating in a bowl of crushed turquoise. As the seaplane descended toward the resort, I pressed my forehead lightly against the cool window, letting the sunlight warm the side of my face. I felt a calm I hadn't known in years. Not relief, not triumph, just space. When we landed, a host greeted me at the dock with a chilled towel and a soft smile. Welcome, Ms. Frisbee. We hope your flight was smooth. Will your partner be joining us later? Plans changed, I said, returning his smile. It's just me now. He didn't miss a beat. Understood. We'll adjust your reservation accordingly. That was the first moment I realized my life no longer required someone else's permission. My existence no longer hinged on another person's moods, whims, or smirks. My choices were mine. Walking into the overwater bungalow felt like stepping into another version of myself. Glass floor panels shimmered with darting fish beneath. The private infinity pool dissolved into the horizon. The bedroom opened onto a balcony with nothing but ocean and possibility beyond it. On the dining table sat a bottle of Dom Perignon on ice. The card beside it read, "For a beautiful beginning." I laughed. It wasn't meant for this situation, but it fit. For the first 2 days, I kept my phone on airplane mode. I used Wi-Fi only for music and news. No messages, no calls, no emotional debris. I slept 11 hours each night. I ate fresh lobster with butter that tasted like silk. I swam with nurse sharks and watched them glide like ancient spirits beneath me. On the third afternoon, as I lay in a net hammock, suspended above the water book, in one hand, coconut in the other, my phone buzzed. Unknown number, Judy. It's Cole. I'm using Ryan's phone. You blocked me. Please pick up. I let the phone rest beside me. Unknown number. I'm scared. The landlord emailed me, saying the lease was terminated. The power company sent a shutoff notice. What's happening? Where are you? The sun warmed my legs. The ocean moved gently beneath me. Unknown number. Are you actually in the Maldives without me, Judy, please? Don't do this. Come home so we can talk, please. I set the book down, picked up the phone, and framed a perfect shot, my feet resting over the netting. The endless blue stretching into, forever, the sweating bottle of champagne beside me. I sent the photo. Then I typed one word, me details. The message delivered, read instantly. 3 dots, fast, erratic, a frantic heartbeat in punctuation form. Then the meltdown began. Unknown. You arrogant, unknown. This is cruel, unknown. Brooke said, unknown. I didn't even, unknown. Come home, unknown. Talk to me, unknown. Please, unknown, please. I didn't read the rest. I blocked Ryan's number too. Then I powered off my phone and placed it in the room safe. For the rest of the week, I learned how to scuba dive. I fed stingrays. I took a cooking class with a Maldivian chef who taught me how to make tuna curry from scratch. I watched the sunset spread gold across the water and felt something inside me align quietly, gently, finally. When I flew home 10 days later, I was tan-rested and startlingly light. I barely recognized myself in the best possible way. I'd signed a lease for a downtown loft before leaving the country, and moving in felt like stepping out of shadow and into sunlight. Concrete floors, high ceilings, a view of the city lights, instead of the same 4 walls where I had waited and wondered what Cole was doing behind his locked screens. The fallout, of course, was spectacular. I didn't hear it from him. I heard it from people who knew both of us, people who didn't realize I no longer cared. Cole had shown up at Brooke's place after being left at the airport. She opened the door, mascara perfect hair, curled, and all sympathy evaporated the moment she saw him holding a suitcase and panic. Apparently, Brooke had expected flirtation, a little emotional cheating. Something dramatic to boost her ego. Not a displaced boyfriend ready to move in. She let him stand in her doorway for 3 uncomfortable minutes before offering him a ride to his parents' house. He crashed on a friend's couch for a week. Nobody wanted him long term, especially when he confessed loudly, repeatedly, that I had ruined his life. But you can't ruin what someone has already set on fire themselves. About a month later, I ran into Lena, a mutual friend, at a downtown coffee shop. I was dressed for a meeting, feeling sharper than ever. Lena spotted me and did a small double take as if she was seeing a ghost who improved herself. Judy, she said, stepping closer. You look amazing. I feel amazing, I said, stirring my cappuccino. She hesitated. So, Cole is a mess. I figured. He keeps telling everyone you abandoned him in his lowest moment. He said he didn't think you'd actually leave. I lifted an eyebrow. He spent the week before our anniversary glued to his ex. What did he expect? Lena sighed. Honestly, everyone warned him. He just thought you'd never walk away. Well, I said, glancing at my watch, he miscalculated. Judy, Lena lowered her voice. He misses you. He says if you just talk to him, maybe. I held up a hand. Calm, clear, done. Lena, whatever he's feeling now is not my responsibility. He wanted space. I gave him all the space in the world. She nodded, defeated. I get it. We said goodbye, and I walked out into the cold air, my boots clicking confidently on the pavement. The city felt alive around me, new awake mine. 6 months later, I was promoted to lead strategist at my firm. My work improved, my sleep improved, my life expanded. I started dating someone new. A quiet, grounded man named Ethan who packed his own bags, paid for his half of dinners without hesitation, and didn't consider basic respect a form of martyrdom. We planned a trip to Tokyo. "Are you sure you want another big trip so soon?" Ethan asked as we booked the flights. After everything with the Maldives, I thought of the turquoise water, the silence, the photo I sent from the hammock, the way it felt to reclaim myself. "I'm sure," I said with a smile. This time I was bringing someone who actually wanted to be there. Cole still tries to view my LinkedIn from private browsers every once in a while. I see the notifications. I don't block them. Let him look. Let him scroll. Let him see what life looks like when someone stops accepting crumbs. Some people learn their lessons the hard way, and some people become the lesson.